Okay, Daisy got cold, so we got her back inside, and now we are walking back the other way, which means I have to keep going, since she doesn't seem to be cold. What I was about to say is, I gave a few examples of sports, but, in the same category, I was kind of always amongst the first pick, throughout my young adult life. I was actually elected the male athlete of the year in my school when I was in my first year of high school. I was really, really good athletically. I mean, I'm 40 and I can still do the splits, even though I busted my ACL. And that's just a small example. Obviously, I'm not as much in shape as I used to be, but there's that. I was always amongst the top of the class in every subject. I remember, having the little honor marks for being in the top. I think it was like top 5% of students in every topic for my grade school, math, science, French, because I'm actually francophone, and phys ed, all four that you could get. I've always been lucky. I've never studied, and I've always been at my class, and everything came easy to me. And I kind of squandered that because I got to RNC and I got to do some really amazing cool stuff because I was in the military, and by the time I was 23, I had checked off more stuff off of my bucket list than most people do in their lifetime. But at that point, I'm also thinking that, again, this was just the intro to the intro, right? The intro to my life is, a normal lifespan still in my mind at this point. So I'm thinking I've earned this career. The military is one of the few remaining places, or government is one of the few remaining places in the world where they actually give you a defined benefit lifetime pension, which is a big deal. If you don't know why, basically mathematically it means that for the rest of my life after I retire, if I earn my pension, which requires a minimum of 25 years of service in the military, then for the rest of my life, I get an indexed pension where I have an exact defined amount that I'm getting every month, which no longer exists in the current workplace because that's not actually really an economically viable model. That's every big business that does do that has gone out of business, and anyway, that's one of the ways the previous generation of boomers and the great generation screwed the ones that came after them, not being willing to adjust their... Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Basically, mathematically speaking, all of the systems are based on the premise that there will be more babies coming in with more higher paying jobs to pay the pension of the people who came before them, and that those people who collect pension will collect it for an average of 5 to 10 years. With today's increasing lifespans and diminishing birth rates, that is completely bonkers. But anyway, moving on. So in my mind, all I had to do was reach my pension, and then I would have achieved the goal of the intro to my life, and kind of have the cushion and the basic setup to ensure that I'd be comfortable for the rest of it, where I can actually pursue all the cool stuff that I'm writing down in my notebooks and this and that, right? So I kind of started to quote unquote mark time a little bit, instead of pursuing, actually delving deep into some of these ideas and writing that novel whose storyboard I have etched out on several dozens, if not hundreds, of manuscript pages, right? And research that physics theory about, Planck length versus Planck's constant, and how that would affect redshift, and anyway, blah blah blah. Create, not just on paper, that model of my plan to use sun orbiting solar collectors to beam power through the solar system and back to Earth to collect more efficiently. Anyway, pursue all that stuff, right? But instead, what I did was I started to take a little break. By that, I mean, I did spend a lot of time, because it was brand new at the time, didn't exist before, and I've always been a few decades ahead of my time, or a few years at least. So spent a lot of time gaming on the computer. I spent a lot of time, just going out and rock climbing, or chatting with friends, or whatever, hanging out, and all stuff that can be useful in other ways, right? But that really actually doesn't really get me towards the big goals that you might have of, wanting your name remembered forever by doing something worthwhile. And I know not everyone needs to have that goal, but I guess at a lower or at a more general sense, it's, trying to be the best person that you can be. And some of that includes doing things, and that's one thing I've realized since, it's also important to be happy, I guess, or to do things that entertain you and that bring you joy. You need that balance, or else your mental health will suffer too much. I've gone through that, I know. But you also can't just focus on that. Which, I'll say, I admit freely, I did too much of. And it's only recently, like after the pandemic, I'll bring it back to that, but what happened in 2019 really changed everything for me, because it gave me the excuse to stay home. And then everything changed. I realized not only that I didn't have to go through all these pretenses and all that stuff, but also coming out of it, it feels like the pandemic was yesterday. And we're in 2024. It's 5 years ago, because I was actually involved right at the beginning, because at the time I worked at the squadron that supported all the airlift for all the repatriation of all Canadians abroad. Anyway, I guess those 5 years kind of flew by so quickly, and now I'm 40, and I'm realizing, oh, wait a minute, a year used to feel like an eternity, and now 5 years have gone by, and I have very little concrete on the, personal achievements side to show for it. Obviously, there's other things, right? Baby, all that stuff, blah, 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 right? But I'm talking about, doing something with myself. So yeah, now I'm feeling that I have to make up for that lost time, because at 40, the ideas that I had when I was 20, suddenly don't seem as easy to pursue as they once did. Maybe it's because I know more. Because that's one thing I did do during that period is I did read a whole lot of philosophy. Like, I have leveled up in knowledge and wisdom multiple folds over that period. But also, I've lost kind of that speed, that something that made things just happen when I was young, and that's really hard to recapture. So yeah, I'm realizing I might not have as much time as I thought I did, and that the time that I have now is not, I can't use as efficiently as I thought I would be able to when I decided to take that, quote unquote break to, pursue reading Ayn Rand and talking about, whatever, gardening or whatever it is, right? And acquire all these other skills and knowledge sets, which are, I'll say, like, common, right? Like, they're not nothing special, right? There's stuff that you can read online or to find. That's actually how I found out most of this stuff, the gardening. So, yeah, that one great thing that you want to do in your life, whatever it is, whether it's raising the best child that you can, or it's discovering a new, discovering cold fusion, or writing the best interactive, user-driven story experience media extravaganza ever. Like, whatever it is, I guess my point is, it's okay, and you should pursue other things, right? As I said, more generalists, less general. But don't just completely just keep working at it, because if you don't, you'll realize that when you come back to it, it's a lot harder to get started. It's the same thing as, yeah, I think this is a good metaphor. Remember when you were a kid riding your bike and there's a big hill coming up? There's two things you can do, right? You can stay at the same speed, and once you get to the hill, oh my God, will you struggle, right? And it'll be so much more effort to get up that hill. Or you can, Miss sees this rabbit right there. So expect some camera movement, that she's probably gonna go for it. Lisa, come on. Lisa. Okay, we're good. Okay. So yeah, but what you should be doing is, try to speed up a little bit while you have the momentum, the energy, and the benefit of the flat ground, so that you can keep that momentum as you go up the hill, and you'll get up halfway up the hill before you start to struggle, as opposed to struggling right from the start, right? Give yourself a head start. That goes for everything. Same thing goes on the other side of the hill, right? Most people, I find, I'll say this based on my experience as a kid riding around a bike in my neighborhood for eons, right? Most people, what happens is they struggle from the start of the hill because they didn't speed up, and once they get to the top of the hill, they're so tired that they just let the momentum carry them down the hill, and then like, without actually pedaling, and then what they don't realize is that maybe what you should be doing instead is, if, like I said, you pedal hard first to get up before you get to the hill, so that you're not as exhausted as you reach the top. That also gives you the advantage that as you're going down the hill, all you have to do is put in, you can put in however much you want, but basically by just putting 20%, or it's a completely random number, but by putting a small amount of your normal pedaling power, you can accelerate yourself very easily to the point where you can carry so much more momentum down the hill that you can cover a great distance on the flat before you actually have to start to pedal again at your normal speed. And also that also allows you to drop down to and then maintain your normal cruising speed on the flat, which is so much easier than having to pedal up to accelerate up to your cruising speed. So yeah, a very long-winded way to explain that metaphor. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. If you completely lose momentum, what I'm finding is that regardless of how awesome I was before as a kid, and how I really, really, honestly, truly thought that I was above all these things that my elders were saying about slowing down and time going faster and all that stuff, and that I was different, and that when they say everybody, the thing that everyone has in common is that everyone dies. In my mind, I was secretly thinking, I'm not gonna die. I'm gonna figure out a way around that, which was so arrogant. Part of me still believes that's possible, but a bigger part of me also realizes that unless our economy drastically changes to more maybe towards what I'm thinking of, an economy of a 3D printed economy where all raw resources can be reused and recycled and repurposed infinitely, and break the consumer stranglehold, allow everyone to produce what they want when they want it, as they need it, and anyway, I'll explain the system another time. I've thought about how patents would work and all that, but that's not the point. I'm kind of getting so off track, I kind of forget what the point I was going to make was. Enemy stress piles are starting to get cold, so we're going. What I was going to say is the bigger part of me realizes that unless things drastically change, I probably won't personally actually have the resources to make myself immortal, but a few billionaires around probably will, right? But anyway, I still think it's possible. Whatever. That's not the point. The point really, I think I've mentioned it enough that hopefully you get it, and that hopefully my personal example of my struggle with that, or my naivete towards that topic will help convince you. I was really I really hope. Hey, mister! I really hope I'm not sounding like bragging too much. I'm just stating facts, unfortunately. My point is that even if you happen to truly be recognized as being above average by awards and this and that, and you got all the trophies and this and that, you never know what's going to happen. You might not have all the time that you think you will, and try to act accordingly. Whether you're the best athlete ever, all it takes is one bad injury and you're gone. And I know everyone always thinks, oh, I'm not gonna get injured, I'm better. I remember thinking that too. I remember thinking that, hey, maybe I'm actually a Terminator like Arnold, and if I cut up my skin, I would find some metal robotic arm underneath it, because I've never broken a bone ever, still to this day, right? So, I know that I'm invincible, thought. Or whether it is just, uh, that's one thing I haven't shared. Another thing that made me want to do this is, I'm just 40 years old, and just over a month ago, I had to go to the funeral of one of my best friends, who I actually met through a while. I've known him for 15 years. Who, I'm sorry, who recently he passed away from cancer, and his daughter is 7 years old. Anyway, losing one of your best friends when you're 40 to cancer puts things into perspective. And if that's not a final way to drive my message across, I don't know what will. So please let me know what you think. What's your experience? Did you ever think that you were invincible or immortal, that you could achieve it? Have you ever dreamed of having your name remembered forever? If so, yeah, doing what, right? Doesn't matter what it is. And even if your goal is just to raise the best kids as possible, well, do it today. Put down this video, and if it's not, put down this video and go play with your kid. At least put down this video and go watch some educational parenting videos on YouTube or something, or read a book about parenting. Do something to help your child. Read up on one of their hobbies, so they can be surprised at your interest in it, or your knowledge about, whatever, Pokemon Go, or whatever, they're playing right now, or LOL dolls, or whatever it is, right? So, anyway, on that note, I hope I've convinced you to not waste your time. Thanks for listening, and to this 3-part episode of The Dog Walk, and have a good evening.